What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about exchanging your money here in Mexico. That's right. Whether you have the British pound, the euro, the US dollar, Canadian dollar, Singaporean dollar, any of those currencies, I'm going to tell you the best way to do it before coming to Mexico. Not only the best way, but the most efficient way and the way that you can get the most for your pound, dollar, whatever it is that you may have, okay? So we're gonna break that down, ways about doing it before you leave, while you're here, and other little tips that I got for you, all right? So without further ado, let's get into number one. So as you all know, here in Mexico, the currency is the Mexican peso. And currently, the exchange rate for the US dollar is at 19.54. And that fluctuates. This has been happening recently with the dollar going up and down in value. But that's still a lot of bang for your dollar, all right? Your money goes a long way here. Your dollar goes a long way here. So don't let that deter you. I remember it was at an all-time high a few months ago, like 20.54 or something like that. Not an all-time high, but a recent high, you know. But anyway, we should see the next year if it's going to get better with the dollar or whatever. But that's the situation with that. Now, if you have euros, it's at 20.74 right now, which is pretty good. And if you have British pounds, you're really making out big because that's 23 pesos for each pound. So you'll be making out like a bandit here if you're coming from the UK, or if you're coming from anywhere and you got British pounds, you're good to go. So that's that current scale. And those are the top three currencies. So that's why I gave you those. Now, in terms of how to exchange the money, my personal favorite, I don't want to say personal favorite, but in my personal opinion, the best way is that if you want to do it before you leave, consult your bank. Depending on what bank you bank with, they may have the currency on deck already, and you can go in and just exchange it. You're going to get the best rate, so that's the best way. Now, if they don't have it, they can order it, and it can arrive within a few days. So I bank with TD Bank in the US, and I've exchanged for British pounds when I was going to the UK, for euros when I was traveling throughout the Eurozone, and I got the best deal. So in my opinion, that's the best way. Go into your bank and seeing if they got it. Depending on what region of the country you're in, if you're coming from the United States or you're coming from Canada or the UK, depending on your bank, they may have some or they may have to order it. So I recommend that because you're going to get the best international rate. And you don't get charged extra for it. So definitely, in my opinion, the best way is to organize that before you leave. That way you get here, you have a little change in your pocket, and if need be, you can always exchange more. So that's number one. So the number two best way, going to a currency exchange office. Now, I'm pretty sure, wherever you're coming from, there's going to be a place where you can exchange currency. And in my opinion, in my experience, that is the second best way to exchange money before you leave, because they have the second best rate after your bank. Now, I would recommend doing this at a place that's around the city, because if you do it at the airport, and we're going to touch on that, it's not going to be the best, but we'll get back to the airport in a little bit. But yeah, the current exchange place, you're going to get a good deal there. And most of those places, unless it's like a very rare currency, and being that if you're coming from the US, Canada, or South America, or wherever you may be, Mexican pesos will be more available than, let's say, I don't know, maybe a Peruvian sol or a dinar from the Middle East. So just really all depends on where you're going. So I think that, Mexico is one of the most visited countries in the world. So you're sure to find some pesos. And like I said, even if they don't have it at the currency exchange places, they will order it for you as well. So if you're not able to do it through your bank for whatever reason, go to a currency exchange place that's not in the airport. And that will be the second best way and the second best in terms of what you get, the exchange rate. So just remember that. So the next best way is exchanging your money when you actually arrive here in Mexico. And I know some people may be worried about carrying money, but it's perfectly fine. And I think that this is another great way if you don't have the opportunity to do it while you're in your home. Just depending on, what you got going on. Definitely when you arrive here, exchanging it will be good. Now, when I say that, as I referred to earlier, currency exchange places. So there are many currency exchange places here in Mexico. Like if you're going to a touristic city like Cancun or Tijuana, here in Guadalajara, where I live, Mexico City, they're all going to have currency exchange places because Mexico is a very visited country. Over 40 million people come here every year. So they're more and well prepared for foreign visitors and to have currency exchange. So let's say you take like 2,000 US, right? Which is about 40,000 pesos, Mexican pesos. That's a lot. And if that's your budget, that's pretty dope, depending on how time you're there. But let's just look at that, right? You got 2,000 pesos. You got $2,000, right? You come here to Mexico and you exchange it at the foreign exchange place here. You're going to have a good deal. All right. So that's if you actually get here. It's like, oh, I need to exchange some money. No problem. Now, What I was saying about the airport, I'm going to tell you right now. I would avoid exchanging money at the airport unless it's absolutely necessary because, as you know, in the airport, everything is expensive and they're not trying to give you discounts. They're not trying to give you good deals. And currency exchange places at the airport are indeed not favorable because you're not getting nearly as a great rate that you could have get from a foreign exchange place currency exchange place outside of the airport or from your bank. Only do this if it's a necessity, if you didn't have any time to do it before you left or whatever, if it's an emergency. Okay, I've done it only twice traveling around the world, and it's just because I needed a few dollars in local currency to pay taxi and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it right now. But only do that if you absolutely need to. Don't make it your primary way. Don't get to the airport. I'll just do it when I get to the airport. No, you're gonna look at that exchange rate and be like, what is this? So yes, don't do that at the airport unless absolutely necessary. And you can download currency exchange app to keep in tune to see what the value is like. My favorite one is XE, the letter XE.com. You can also download it in the Apple or Google store, and it's a perfect app. I think it's the best out of the other ones there, and it's on point. So definitely have that so you can keep in tune to what the currency is looking like and how much you need to convert or whatever the situation may be. All right. So let's get into the next part. Now, another option you have, for example, when you're here and you may need to pull out some money, maybe it could be an emergency or whatever the case may be, you can actually pull out money from the ATM here. So I'll tell you a little bit how that works and how to do it. So let's say, for example, you're traveling here and you want to use your card while you're here. Mexico, of course, cash is king, but card is accepted almost everywhere. So cash is king, so you always want to have a little cash, right? But let's just say you ran out of cash or something. You can use your ATM card. Now, the way to do it is notify your bank before you leave your country that you're going to be in Mexico, so there's no fraud alert and your account doesn't get freeze. And you'll be able to take out Mexican pesos from the bank and it automatically converts it for you to your currency, okay? So if you advise your bank, then you should have no problem. The transaction should go through. Now, when you're doing this, you're going to have two options at the ATM. It's going to say accept this exchange rate or decline. Always decline, because the exchange rate from the banks here, they want to make a little bit of extra money on top of the fee they're charging you to use their ATM. So always hit decline. Now, when you hit decline, you're still going to get your money, but you're going to get the international rate. So remember, go to the ATM. Don't accept the rate of that bank. Hit decline. Don't accept this conversion, okay? And go for the international rate, all right? Because that's the best way. So, and it comes out in pesos, it automatically converts. I mean, you're good to go. I mean, it's as easy as it can get. So that's another way that you can do it if you ever find that you need to pull out money, So always remember to advise your bank so they don't think there's any fraud going on, and be mindful of the fees your bank may charge you. Every bank is different. Some banks may charge you nothing. Some banks may charge you, a little bit, but just check before you go. So that way, if you need to pull out money in any situation, it'll be practical for you, right? So yes, so those are the basics. Now let's run through it. Never do it at the airport unless you absolutely need to. Always go to your own bank first to get the best rate. Secondly, you can go to foreign exchange places in your country and here in Mexico as well. And if you need to, like we just discussed, pull it out of the ATM. So you have a bunch of different options that you can use, okay? So that pretty much concludes this video. I know this is a very important thing. And for you well-seasoned travelers out there, you probably know how the game goes. And for those of you who don't know much, well, I hope you learned something from this video. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your viewership. Clicking on the video. If you like it, hit like, subscribe. I got more content about Mexico and Latin America as a whole coming soon. So stay tuned to that if that's your thing. And yes, happy holidays, everyone. Have a great Christmas. And I will be back soon with another video. Peace.